To me, peace is not just the absence of conflict. It's about fulfilling everyone's potential and giving them the opportunity and the space to do so.
So for me, peace is diversity. The world is all about diversity. So the more you respect diversity, the more you are closer to peace.
Peace is the outcome of a situation where people are able to choose the ways by which they want to meet their needs, and where people are also respectful of each other's differences.
Peace is about tolerance and participation and acceptance of the other in aspiration of our needs that are common. Since we share this, we should not use violence and then work together.
When you have those opportunities for people to be open, honest, be transparent, and talk about those things that are truly important to them in their hearts, that's the beginning of peace and the beginning of conflict resolution for me.
Peace to me means many things, but I'd say at the end of the day, it's to have a good life for myself, my family, my community, my country, and my world in equal measure.
Good afternoon, Rotarians, friends, and guests. I'm Hannibal B. Johnson. It's my pleasure as president of Rotary Club of Tulsa to welcome you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the fun, the festivities, and the fellowship that are the hallmarks of our weekly luncheon meetings. On any given Wednesday at noon, just know that we'll be here with a special experience catered specifically for you. All you have to do is show up and engage with us. If you haven't already done so, please take a moment to silence your cell phones now. Thank you. A special thanks to Tom Wolfe for our pre-meeting musical interlude. Let's begin our program with Song and Pledge from Michelle Place, The Invocation from Jerry Dillon, and visitor introductions from Danny Stockstill.
Good afternoon. Let us remember our fallen hero this week, Senator John McCain, with the Eternal Father Strong to Save, which is the Navy hymn. We have a video which will have an introductory remarks, and then we'll sing. You all should have copies of the first verse on your tables, so if you'll get those.
The freedoms we cherish do not come without a price. The United States sailor has defended this nation from its birth to the present day, and will continue to do so throughout the millennium. With a devotion to duty and a willingness to sacrifice, the United States sailor exemplifies the Navy's core values of honor, courage, and commitment. We honor that valor, and we salute their sacrifice.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, you love us more than anyone, unconditionally. And today we do want to remember the Senator McCain's family, and for all those who have fallen, from our families who have served our country. We thank you for the policemen, the firemen, the first-timers. We love you. We thank you for giving us a country that's freedom, that we can enjoy last night to vote. And we pray for each of our leaders who have been elected, that they will be able to follow much of the same spirit of Senator McCain, to be civil with one another. So today we honor you, and it's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Well, good afternoon. We are glad you're here today. I would like to introduce our Rotarians and their guests. Please, let's hold our applause until all the guests have been introduced. Today, Rotarian Karen Keith is hosting Sherry Langston from Tulsa County. Sheena Grinnell is hosting John Crescent from John Crescent Insurance Agency. Kathy Gurrell is hosting Mike Rogers from Gratify IT. Melissa Place is hosting Barbara Kogerman. She's retired. She's also a past president from Mission Viejo, California, in her home Rotarian, or home Rotary. Mike Turner is hosting Bill Kogerman, Colonel Bill. Jenny Hammock is hosting James Bond, BKL Incorporated. Prima Braddock is hosting Tara Payne from Northwestern Mutual. Karen McCannell is hosting Al Pagano from Macintosh Group. And Terry Heritage is hosting our honorary Rotarian, Tanya Davis from Celia Clinton, and Anissa Jones from Celia Clinton. And Brian Bovard is hosting Tim Fachinger. Is that close at all? All right, we've got several guest Rotarians with us today. From the North Tulsa Club, we've got Wallace Williams. And from Southside Tulsa, we have Ben Gurrell. Let's welcome these guests with us today.
Thank you, Michelle, Jerry, and Danny. Once again, welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa, where Tulsa's finest business and community leaders come together to serve and to be the inspiration both in our community and all around the world. Let's thank our meeting volunteers whose service makes our meetings run so well each week. Thanks also to this week's meeting sponsors, Tulsa Zoo with Terry Carell and NBC Bank with Mindy Strain and Alicia Herrera. As always, we encourage you to give your fellow Rotarians the business, literally. Now, we have several announcements. The first is the Programs Committee will meet after today's meeting in room 233. Also on your tables are the amended and restated bylaws of the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Hopefully you've had a chance to review those. Copies were mailed to you on August the 18th, and this is a red line copy on your table. So I declare that a quorum of the membership is present today, and I request a motion and a second to adopt the amended and restated bylaws. So moved. Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a voice vote. All those in favor of the club adopting the amended and restated bylaws that have been disseminated, please say aye. Any in opposition, please say no. So the ayes have it by a 2/3 majority. The amended and restated bylaws are thus adopted, and I thank you. We at the Rotary Club of Tulsa adopted Celia Clinton Elementary School in 1989. Our then president, Hal Calhoun, implored fellow Rotarians to improve schools in the Tulsa area to be part of the solution. That challenge sparked an incredible relationship between Celia Clinton and the large group of Tulsa business leaders that comprise the Rotary Club of Tulsa. This year, we kicked things off with a welcome back breakfast for teachers and free snow cones as students completed their first week of classes. Our engagement continues to yield extraordinary results. A special thank you goes out to John Hare, the chairman, and to all Rotarians serving on the Mike Chittum Partners in Education Committee. Our Rotary Inspiration. This week's Rotary Inspiration is our beloved Mike Chittum. So an anonymous Rotarian writes as follows. Every year when children go back to school, I can't keep from thinking about my Rotary inspiration. Mike Chittum joined Rotary the same year I did in 1997, sponsored by his dad, Charlie. And by the way, Charlie Chittum joins us today. Welcome, Charlie. The note continues. Mike knew what his purpose would be, volunteering and mentoring children at Celia Clinton Elementary School. He had a special gift of love that he expressed and showed to all the kids. He could always be seen greeting children in the hallways, offering a hug or a high five, and asking them how they were and if they needed anything. He also had the special gift of learning all the children's names. And to all the children, he was simply Mr. C. He oversaw a clothing drive for the kids and their families that were in need. He also collected food and non-perishable items and gave them to families on Fridays so that they could make it through the weekend. I remember cleaning out my closets or pantry and giving Mike the items. He was always so grateful. I was surprised and delighted by a special note he wrote to me acknowledging the handouts. He was an incredible servant, an inspiration to me, and I always remember when greeting him, he would say, "How's it going, boss?" His laugh, his passion, and his big heart were contagious to all who were around him. In 2005, he was recognized with the club's highest honor, the James G. Sade Service Above Self and Then Some Award. After Mike passed away in 2008, the name of the Rotary Adopt a School Committee, which Mike had headed, was changed to the Mike Chittum Partners in Education Committee. The school media center was named the Mike Chittum Memorial Library, and the city park adjacent to the school was renamed Chittum Park. And in 2014, Rotarians dedicated a $125,000 playground in memory of this great Rotarian. Mike was my inspiration. Let's take a moment to acknowledge and celebrate Mike Chittum and his legacy with a rousing round of applause. Now please welcome our International Youth Exchange Chairman, Jerry Stamper, for a special introduction. Jerry.
Yes, good afternoon. I was wanting to, for those not familiar with the Rotary International Youth Exchange Program, it's comprised of about 8,000 students from around the world that come and to leave their house at the ages of 16 to 18 and move to a host country and into a Rotary-sponsored host family for an academic year and immerse themselves in the culture and language of that country. And our club has sponsored, I want to introduce Lise Delafie, and she's from the country of France, from the town of Vannes, in a beautiful region in the southwest of France called Brittany. And Lise will be attending the Bishop Kelly High School as a junior, and her club counselor will be Jan Lobb, and her current host family is Lisa and Bob Riley from Tulsa. I think we have some slides on of her visit. Now can't really quite see that, but different pictures of her arriving at Tulsa International Airport. I think there was the day. I think it was about 3 weeks ago when she arrived. There were some people to greet her. And we also had an opportunity for her to meet some of her students, the Bishop Kelly students, at a pool party in which we had a number of Bishop Kelly students she had a chance to meet, and also another student from Switzerland that's going to be, you'll be seeing a lot of this year from Switzerland, Anel Hall, I believe. And so I wanted to just introduce you and welcome you to the Rotary Club this year. We're looking forward to seeing you at many functions here at the club this year.
Hello, or bonjour to everybody here. So I want to first thank you to host me in your country, your fabulous country, and in Tulsa, which is a very beautiful town, city, I can say maybe. Then I am really glad to attend Bishop Kelly School, which is also a very good school, and where I am a cheerleader for the whole year, so I'm also really happy for that. And finally, I also can't wait to all of the Rotarian meeting and Rotarian, how do they say that, like things will happen with the Rotary, and so to go there. So thank you, everybody.
So we say bienvenue, or welcome to Lise. Je parle français un peu. A special thank you to International Exchange students, committee members who are seated in front of me, Duff, Jerry, Tricia, John, and Jan. Next up is our Sarge, and standing in for Sarge Daniel Gomez today is Co-Sarge Michelle Place. Michelle.
I'm back. Okay. Daniel sent me an email. He is in another trial this week, and he made some comment about he doesn't understand opposing attorneys that they won't be brief. Thank you. Think about it. Okay, so let's get to our Sarge finds. And first we have Brenda Melancon. It's a little bit off-center, but she gave $100 because she has a birthday coming up. Is Brenda here? Oh, there she is in the back. Happy birthday this week, Brenda. And she made, in her email, she made reference to she wishes she was still there, and I see a blue dome in the photograph. So, Brenda, honey, do you know that we have a blue dome here in Tulsa? I'll take you on a tour if you want. Okay. Happy birthday. Have a great day. Also, last week's Rotary meeting, there was a whole lot of racket about the University of Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, and, you know, y'all were going back and forth some of the stuff that those of us who didn't go to either one of those schools might not have understood, and it seemed that you were putting the other down. Well, it was a big week for the Greater Tulsa Razorback Club.
Woo Pig.
Two of us attended Woo Pig. There are other Razorbacks in the hall. And so Chris McCowan, who is the president of that group, we each are giving $25 plus another, $25 each, and another 50 cents because our event was held at Oklahoma Joe's Barbecue. I thought that was fun, so I've already paid up. And then Bob Reed has an anniversary, $560 for 56 years in Rotary. Is Bob here? Where's Bob? There's Bob, sitting on the back row, center's row back there. That's what we call it. Okay, remember that next week, or you can sign up now. No, I'm confused how this works. But anyway, sign up Saturday, September 8th game, OU and UCLA. And the forms are outside. And also, we have Oklahoma State versus South Alabama. Now, a reference was made about who was on a top 10 or whatever. My husband is the one that mentioned, well, OSU was smarter because they were going to play at night instead of in the middle of the day with temperatures. Ed looks confused. Imagine that. Have a great week. Send us fines.
Thanks, Michelle. Next up is our Vocational Minute, today presented by Bob Parker. Bob.
Okay, as most of you know, I'm Bob Parker, sometimes referred to as Robert. I have a law firm by the name of Parker Orbis, and we do real estate law. We have another lawyer that works with us. There's 3 of us. What we do mainly is if you buy a piece of real estate, piece of land or a house, and the contract is delivered to the closing company, then we render the title opinion to make sure you get good markable title to the property, which includes reading the abstract, which is accumulated from the county records. Now, in this regard, of course, we run into different problems. We do a lot of probate work and guardianship work, quiet titles to the uncontested type of litigation. We do not go to the courthouse and fight battles at this point. I'm also a partner in a closing company called Executive Title and Escrow, and we take the contract and the title opinion, and from that we make sure that when you buy a piece of property, you have good title to the property. And hopefully a successful closing where the money's exchanged and the deed is exchanged and everybody goes away happy. Doesn't always happen, but that's our goal. So that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. And now a special side mic announcement from Terry Heritage. Terry.
Thank you, President Hannibal.
Absolutely.
Sorry about that. And good afternoon, generous Rotarians. I have the principal, Mrs. Davis, from Celia Clinton Elementary School here with me, and she wants to thank all the generous Rotarians who contributed to our program where I have the gift cards in here for 48 teachers. So each teacher will get a gift card to Walmart to outfit her classroom to make it great for the kids. It's all about the kids, isn't it, Tanya?
All about the kids. Thank you very much. I was told to keep this very brief, so I wrote my notes, because if I talk off the top of my head, I'll never get through. I could talk about kids all day. First, I want to say the tribute to Mike Chittum. I have such a regret that I did not get to meet Mike. I've talked to Charlie a lot. Charlie was saying a while ago, I'm going to get back out to the school. I'm going to do, because it is all about kids, and Charlie's heart is there. That's why Mike's heart was there. I have people every day say something to me about Mike Chittum. He is all over our building, of course, with the library, the playground, the park next door. We hear about Mike Chittum a lot, so his memory lives on with us a lot. He was a great guy. I really wish I could have met him. Thank you, thank you, thank you for these. The teachers will appreciate them immensely. My husband always says, why do they need gift cards? If you're going to do a volcano with soda and vinegar, that's not something you can buy with school funds. Q-tips, Ziploc bags, things that teachers use every single day, they have to go to Walmart and purchase that, so this will offset the expenses for them. So there are some cards on your table right now. Those are from Josh's Snow Shack. I know you saw the clip of that. They enjoy those a lot. I have to admit I had one myself, and it was really yummy, and the kids very much appreciated that. It was very, very hot that day. Also, I want to invite you to Celia Clinton on October the 10th. I know you'll have your Rotary meeting there that day. We have a great program planned for you. You get to see our kids in action. So please come on October the 10th, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Our Rotarian of the day is Robert Jones, who's a Tulsa native who graduated from Jenks High School. He earned his Eagle Scout honors with Troop 26. Robert completed his BS in Finance at Oklahoma State University, obtained his Certificate of Financial Planning from Northeastern State University. He passed the CFP exam in July of 2016, and he's a commercial lender with First Oklahoma Bank at its headquarters in Jenks. Robert's a member of TIPROS and serves on the board of Revitalize T-Town, which formerly was Rebuilding Together Tulsa, an organization that provides repairs and maintenance on our Tulsa neighborhoods who can't afford the repairs themselves. He enjoys working on projects that help revitalize the Tulsa area, whether it be through downtown redevelopment or residential flips. He spends his spare time in Tulsa parks or backpacking the Ozark High Trail in Arkansas. Go Arkansas. Robert was introduced to Rotary through Camp Enterprise, where he served as a camp counselor. He's our youth chair and our co-director for Camp Enterprise. Please help me welcome fellow Rotarian Robert Jones.
Thank you, President Hannibal, for the introduction. Our guest today is Danny O'Connor. He's originally from Brooklyn. Danny moved to California in the mid-'70s. In 1990, Danny gained fame as an American rapper and founding member of the hip-hop group House of Pain, which went on to releasing 3 albums, and one went multi-platinum. The group's hit song, Jump Around, has been featured in blockbuster movies and even ranks on VH1's 100 Greatest Songs of the 90s. Danny continues to perform with the hip-hop group, supergroup La Coca Nostra, and is a major part of the Delta Bravo Urban Exploration Team, which seeks out the original locations used in album covers, movies, and scenes. In 2009, a concert layover gave Danny the opportunity to seek out the location of the Outsiders film. Danny found the Curtis Brothers house in disrepair and believed that it needed to be saved. In 2016, Danny decided that he would be the driving force behind saving the house and moved his family to Tulsa to make it a reality. The exterior of the museum is now complete, and the museum is scheduled to open in late 2018. If you would please help me welcome Danny Boy O'Connor.
Thank you. Oh yeah, I'll need that. That's a wonderful introduction. I have to amend some of that, but close enough. Like you said, my name is Danny O'Connor, aka Danny Boy, and it's a pleasure to be here today and to talk to you about my passion project, which is the Outsiders House. It's also wonderful to have my friend George Carroll, who's in town filming a movie, and James Bond, who's been a wonderful friend and help on this project. I often, when I introduce him when we're out at the Outsiders House, with a name like James Bond, how could you forget it? But I introduce him like, here's my friend James Brown, and I go, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. It shows you where my musical taste is and where my head's at. That being said, let me see if this works. It's the Outsiders House. If you're not familiar, it's based on the book The Outsiders by Tulsa native S.C. Hinton. She wrote the book here at Will Rogers. She wrote it in 11th grade. The book just celebrated 50 years. It's never been out of circulation and never been out of publication. She was failing English, and she got a D+ that year in creative writing, so. Which is great, because if she was a Mensa student and top of her class, I don't know if it would be as interesting for me. When they took that book to the publisher said, we suggest you change your name from Susan Eloise Hinton to S.C. Hinton, being ambiguous, because boys won't buy a story written by a girl. So we've come a long way in some areas. So yeah, S.C. Hinton wrote the book. It's required reading in most schools, which is fantastic. And at the behest of a librarian in 1980 from Sacramento, California, she noticed a tipping point in the library where her students were actively seeking out this book. And she had been a librarian for quite some time, and she just she didn't understand why they were gravitating to the book. So she read it, she loved it, she understood its importance, and at some point she had about 100 of her students write a letter to Francis Ford Coppola, Why Francis Ford Coppola? I still need to ask her that because, you know, prior to doing The Outsiders, it was, you know, Godfather 1, 2, and 3, Apocalypse Now. Why she thought this would be a great director, producer for a children's book, we'll never know, but it was the perfect choice. In 1980 or 81, when she wrote that letter, it's a miracle that it even got to him. It's a miracle that he even opened it and read it. And then he went and bought the books. He not only bought The Outsiders, he also bought her other book, The Rumblefish, and fell in love with them as well and decided to turn those into a movie. And they began filming here in Tulsa, Oklahoma in '82. I don't know, you know, from an outsider's perspective, all pun intended, when I got to Tulsa, everybody told me kind of when I was, as a kid, I remember when people were saying, you know, they remembered where they were when Kennedy got shot or when we landed on the moon. Well, when I got to Tulsa, just about everybody remembers where they were when Outsiders or Rumblefish was filmed. That being said, I hadn't been here. The first time I came to Tulsa was 2009. That is the picture from the day that I got here. My band was playing Cain's Ballroom, and we had a 3-day layover. And in 2009, there was nothing downtown except for, well, Cain's Ballroom and the Spaghetti Warehouse, I believe it is. It was scary, but it was beautiful. And I got a vibe, and I couldn't put my finger on why Tulsa just had this warm vibe. I'd hear the train whistle going off in the background, and it was a beautiful summer night, and I kept thinking, Tulsa, I know Tulsa. Was The Outsiders filmed here? And the driver that we had at the time said, absolutely. And I said, do you know where any of the locations are? And he said he did. Unfortunately, right around that time, the drive-in, the Admiral Twin that was seen in the movie, the screen had just burned down. And I was like, uh-oh. He said he knew where that location was, and he knew where the park from the movie was, which is in North Tulsa. It's the Crutchfield neighborhood. And I knew that the park was pretty close to where the house was, so we could probably find it. That day I found it. We took this photo. I posted on Facebook, which was still a kind of a new thing. And my phone vibrated across the table for about 24 hours straight because I never had got so many likes in my life. People were asking me questions like, where on the Warner Brothers lot is the house? I've been working on Warner Brothers for 20 years. I've never ran into the house. I said, no, it's not on the lot. Where is it? Tulsa. What's a Tulsa? I said, oh, here we go. So, but that being said, you know, I was bitten. One, I couldn't believe it was still here. Two, I couldn't believe that it looked similar, you know, as it did in the movie. And three, that nobody had bought it and done anything special with it. At the time, the house was for sale for $40,000, which is cheap. Coming from Beverly Hills, it's hard to find a place to park a second or third car in Beverly Hills for 40 grand a year. So, not to big league anybody, you know, but I was like, I can't believe this house is for sale for 40 grand. But I had to pull the hook out of my mouth and release myself, because what's going to happen to me if I start thinking crazy? I live in California. I have no business buying the world's largest collectible or fort in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I'm not inclined to do anything mechanical or technical or anything, so I left it alone. But for about 5 years, it would bother me. I'm like, you know, that house, I can't believe the house is still there. I wonder what happened to the house. And I would look online for information, and nothing really would come up on it. And I couldn't get over the fact that famous house could be had for $40,000. Well, fast forward 5 years after that thought, I met a guy who lived here, and we were talking about the house, and I said, you know, I wonder if we could find the owner and just contact her, because the tenants who were living there were kind of beating the place up. And I thought, what a shame if they tear this house down. Now, at the same time, and I'll say this and I'll explain, I'll clean it up later, but the Habitat for Humanity, which, you know, they're a great organization, but at the time they were coming through that neighborhood and tearing down a lot of the houses. And I kept thinking, well, you know, I hope they don't mistake this for just an old downtrodden house, and that this one day I'm going to show up and go, it's gone. Like, I can't believe it's gone. So that was the impetus for, you know, for trying to find the owner, and the fact that every year I'd come back, the tenants looked like they were just tearing it to shreds. And so we were able to find the owner. We reached out to her. She asked $20,000. We retorted with $15,000, and she accepted, and we bought the house. And so It wasn't something I would ever thought in a million years. I wasn't even trying to buy the house. I was just trying to inquire if she was possibly selling one day that she could give me a call, but it just worked. It just happened so quick. The first week I was sitting out in front of the house, a guy pulled up and he says, "I'm the guy who tears all these down. Your house was on my list." And I said, "Now why would you want to tear this down? This is the outsider's house." He said, "Insider, outsider, it don't matter what sider. I could have put 4 Habitat for Humanity's properties here. It's a double property." And I said, "Sir, with all due respect, 2 blocks up, there's 10 football fields of land, and there's another 5 on this side." And so I told him to leave, don't come back. And we began. Originally, my whole intent is just to arrest the development. I didn't want them to tear it down. And I bought it, and I was going to board it up and figure it out later. Like I said, I had no plan, no budget, no nothing. I was just a passionate fan who loved the movie. The movie changed my life. I saw it as a 13-year-old latchkey kid. And in '82, that movie looked a lot different than most movies that were out. It was like my Gone with the Wind, or it just had an aesthetic and a vibe and a feel to it. And I felt if I just had a group of guys that I could run around with and had my back and were there for me. It was a surrogate family that I never had. So the movie to me was very important. So the fact that this still exists on Earth was mind-blowing, and then the fact that it was possibly slated for demolition was scary. So I stepped in, no plan, thought I must be the only guy who cares about this thing because it could have been had just from a phone call and 15 grand. And pleasantly, I was surprised. I was wrong. Once the press got a hold of it, everybody came out of the woodwork. I realized also, after buying it sight unseen, it was sorry, I'm trying to show you the condition. So the condition was terrible. So I bought it without ever stepping inside the house. When I bought the house, I drove from California. I broke in the back window because they didn't give me keys. We paid, the tenants who were living there were 8 months in arrears. They were going through their own problems. We paid for them we moved them to a different place, a nicer spot. But they left a lot of parting gifts, and it was like 3 days of sorry. And so the house was just in really bad shape. So at which point the press picked up on it. We put a GoFundMe together. And I thought, Danny, well, if you're going to ask for money to try to restore this thing, it's got to be, a public, trust. It can't just be, your fort or your clubhouse. And so we started raising money. But the problem was everything in this house needed a new thing. These are all out of order. I'm sorry about this. I put them all together in one order, but they don't seem to be in the right order. So yeah, that was the drive-in theater, and again, that was also the impetus of like, well, that just burned down. What's to stop the outsider's house from And so some of these shots, like here, this is where we're at now. This is how it looked in the movie, but I guess what I'm getting at, this is a one of a one. People come from all over the world to see this thing. The legacy of the movie alone it's tremendous, but the book is even bigger. Like I said, it's required reading. There's French copies, there's German copies, there's Italian copies. I was in Russia and buying copies, and it's one of those things. It's the haves versus the have-not, and it's one of those coming-of-age stories. And so we just started building on it. This is the park down the street. Unfortunately, that sign disappeared. We were told someone stole it. So there's also the park, the fountain, the movie. It just occurred to me, you have the wrong files. We sent a second one, so these are all out of, but I'll figure it out. So, because yeah, this is all out of order. Anyway, the gist of the story is you guys had a national treasure in your own backyard in North Tulsa that was about to get demolished. By some weird vibe or feeling or things happen the way they're meant to happen in the universe, I was interested enough to try to make something happen. It was way over my, if it has batteries, it's probably smarter than me, I'll just say that. So when I got in that house and I saw the condition of it, I was like, oh, wow, like somebody call a man. I have no idea on what to do here. And so a lot of people started stepping forward helping us. It was the people with the least to give who's actually given us the most. People would come and say, hey, your lawn is looking atrocious, but I own a small business. We'll cut your lawn for free. Or I noticed there's 1,000 roaches. If you want, we will spray for roaches. Hey, I own a dumpster company, and I'll loan you a dumpster when we're not in use, and we'll drop those off, and we'll pick those up and dump it free of charge. That has been the case in so many ways that I couldn't even count on one hand how many people have come through. That being said, there's always a hurdle. We were hoping to get this done in 1 year. We are now on the end of year 2, and we're getting closer. But it hasn't. It's been partially budget issues. It's also been we had to deal with the city. There was one person in the neighborhood who was not happy with this, and she showed up at the public hearing we had to rebuild the house that was on back of this, and. So we were hit with added things that we had to do. So we have to build a parking lot on the back of this now for 5 cars, which there's not a budget for. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't show you the updated. So this was on the back of the house. This is the final phase of what we're trying to do. The house originally was on 7th and Elgin when it was built, so it's a 100-year-old home. We didn't know that when we bought the house. It was moved to North Tulsa, the original house. This was built in the 40s. This was like a general store connected to the back of the Outsiders house. And the foundation was there, but they had tore it down in 2005, I believe. And so you could still see it on Google Maps if you go back. There's like a time hop that they have there. So we had to get plans drawn up for this whole thing, and that's where James Brown over there, James Bond, his company BKL came in and they did all these amazing blueprints. We were able to add the handicap ramp behind there, the ADA compliant. We ended up putting 2 bathrooms that are going to go in there, and yeah, there's not the updated photos, but the Habitat for Humanity came out of nowhere and we had a meeting with them. So about a year ago, I got a call from Habitat and they said, hey, we would like to meet with you. And I said, no, I don't want to meet the Habitat for Humanity. I've probably spoken ill of you in the press. It's not personal. I just didn't want you to tear down the house. They said, yeah, we know, and we weren't trying to tear down the house. We'd love to meet with you and discuss some possibilities. And the moral to the story is they stepped up and they volunteered to rebuild that back house. So it's been a wonderful mitzvah forward from them. That being said, we still need a parking lot, we still need roof, we still need electrician, we still need, there's a lot of needs that are still, we're not there yet, but it's looking amazing. And it's just a feel-good story. I get all the time, like people, they're bewildered. They're like, why didn't anybody do this before you got here? I don't understand. They're half mad and they're half confused. And I think what happens is that we always assume, or I always assume, that someone else will be looking out for these things. And sometimes they're not, and once you lose these kind of treasures, they're gone, It's a weird time. It's a wonderful time. I got here. This gentleman asked me how long I had been here. I've been here. I live here now, downtown at the Mayo. I've been here a year. I've been coming back and forth for 2 years, and I've been kind of involved or trying to figure out a way to get that house for a few years. I fell in love with Tulsa. I wouldn't have moved here just because of the Outsiders. Like, I like the Outsiders like the next guy, but I like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and I like, Stand By Me, and, all that good stuff. So I'm just not going to go somewhere because I like a movie. But it's people like yourself, without trying to cry, because I ain't cried since Mickey died in Rocky, but I know that I have been, all I did was ask for help. I said, I got this house, we should save it, please help, because I have no idea. If there's math involved, way over my head. If there's so what I did was ask for help and step out of the way, and allowed people to help. And I've got more help on this thing, and I don't attribute it to anything I've done. It's S.E. Hinton's legacy, it's the movie's legacy, it's Coppola's legacy, it's the Brat Pack was started. So, it's Matt Dillon and Ralph Macchio and Tom Cruise and Patrick Swayze and Diane Lane and, And so it's a pretty important piece of history. It's a pretty important, that it was inspired, it came from a book that was written by someone here in 11th grade who was flunking out, so there's hope in that. I went and spoke at the school, and they all connected to it in a way, and what they all had to say was that they were very impressed that somebody from Will Rogers or Tulsa at Large could write this book and go on to a great success. It was very inspiring for them to know that S.E. Hinton was here and that she wrote that there. And so originally, like I said, I bought it to board it up to make sure nobody tore it down. Then once we realized how bad of a condition, we asked for help and we raised some money and we got the help. And then I thought, this is going to be the greatest movie museum. No, it's better than I think. But there is also the Christmas Story. It's a similar story. The guy bought that house and turned it into a museum. And then what I started to find was that the average visitor was like 12, 13, probably never seen the movie, just read the book and were bright-eyed and couldn't believe that they were at the house that they were reading about in their class. And these kids are small. They're little, like I got socks older than half you guys. Where are you? And they come by in school buses. They come by with their family. They come by passing through the U.S. and they can't believe it's here. And so what started occurring to me was that this could be a bigger thing than just like a movie museum, and that there's an educational component to this thing that I never anticipated. I have a 9th grade education, and believe me, I'm stretching it for all it's worth. Thank God for hip hop. All right, so there's that. And so this thing, as the kids come through, I can see a definite, field days and Skyping to classes in China, reading it simultaneously. There's so many components that go into this thing that it could be used as so many different things. People ask, can I get married there? I'm like, sure, why not? It's a greaser wedding, let's do it, And so it's just this wonderful project. And, again, I take no credit for it. All I did was buy the thing and ask for help. And it's really, Oklahomans that have, and Tulsans really, who have told me to kindly step aside and let them go in and do some real lifting, and here we are. So I sent other files, so there was an updated, but you'll have to use your imagination. But the back property is almost built, but there are a few things before we can get it completed. That being said, we have the largest collection. There's nobody on earth who has more outsiders collectibles than me. That's where we've been very efficient, and we got it all. So we've got the Mickey Mouse shirts, we've got all the denim stuff. We just got Tom Cruise's full outfit from the Rumble scene. A retired Tulsa PD guy had recovered Coppola's director's chair, which was stolen on the set of Rumblefish after they filmed The Outsiders downtown. He recovered it, had it in his man cave for 30-something years. He said, until you came along, this was staying with me and going to Valhalla when I'm done. And he said, I saw you on the newspaper, I got to give it to you. So we've got so many cool things and so many cool stories, and so many people have either donated their time, their service, money, collectibles, etc. It's going to be, it's going to be a one-of-a-kind experience for fans of The Outsiders, future, generations, and I'm just happy to be involved and happy to be doing it, and happy to be asked to come down here and tell my story. I know that I have a short amount of time, so I guess I'll wrap it up. Is that it? Will that do? Yeah, no, of course.
So, absolutely. We'll do 50 questions. Thanks, Danny, for a wonderful presentation. We've actually got a little bit of time. We're going to do something a little different. We've got a mic stationed midway through center aisle. If you have a question, we've got time for 2 or 3 questions. Please approach the mic and ask your questions from the mic. This will enable everyone to hear the question, and so everybody can really engage with the response to the question.
Perfect.
So, Danny, first of all, what a blessing you've been for our community. Thank you.
Oh,
thank you.
I appreciate it.
So do you have everything that you need? Did you set up a trust? How are you managing this, and how will you manage the actual museum?
No idea. So we raised about $40,000 on GoFundMe, which we went through. We have an accountant that has also volunteered to be our accountant. We have a lawyer. We're a 501c3, which we got that pretty quickly. The lawyer said, I've never seen it get passed so quick, so there's probably Outsiders fans all over the place. We do not have everything we need because the list keeps growing. So, we never had like a budget, a plan. We've kind of just been flying by the seat of our pants, if you will. And so we are still, I brought some pamphlets, I'll put them aside, which is basically a case for support letter. And yeah, we need electricians still, we need a roof, we need a parking lot, etc. And so, but it's one day at a time. We just keep showing up, and magic happens.
Danny, being in late 50s, I grew up reading the book when I was in 8th grade as well. I'm also a collector, and I'm curious, did Hollywood's prop departments have any of the original contents of the house still stored, or were you able to come up
great
with
question.
any of those?
Yeah, so I know everything about it. Coppola was going bankrupt. The film he did prior to The Outsiders and Rumblefish, it was called One from the Heart. It was his water world. He sunk everything into it, and he knew he was going bankrupt when he decided to come to Tulsa and film that movie. It's pretty incredible that he even came all the way to Tulsa to do that. They could have done this on the back lot of any studio he wanted to, including his own, American Zoetrope. So he got here, he filmed those movies. He was going bankrupt. They shipped all the wardrobe back, but they didn't ship any of the interior. The interior, all of this stuff was based out of, they used Lowell Elementary School, which is in North Tulsa. It's gone now. But the site where Lowell Elementary School was, that was their base camp. When they wrapped up both Outsiders and Rumblefish, they took all of the props, they put them on a yard sale, and they sold them. So the only thing that makes it back to California was all of the wardrobe, but it immediately goes to bankruptcy sale. And so there was an open sale for all of this stuff. Now, I have two friends that were at this sale, which I didn't, I met them a couple years back through S.C. Hinton. In that sale, you had to buy everything from Emilio Estevez, from The Outsiders, which the movie originally came out, it was kind of a flop. I don't want to say, it just didn't do great in theaters, but it did really well on VHS tapes, because once we took the movie home, we were able to experience it in that way. So a lot of the stuff made it to auction, and then it made it to collectors, and slowly but surely we've been able to get most of it back. So much so that when my friend went up to speak to the archivist at Zoetrope Studios, which is Coppola's company, he said if his son came in, Coppola's son came in and said, if my father regrets anything, it was letting go of the wardrobe, because it didn't really bring any money to paying off the debt he was in. And he'll never get it back. And so we told him, don't worry, we got it in Tulsa. It's where it belongs, and it's good. Daniel, congratulations.
Thank you, Danny. Again, you are an awesome ambassador for Tulsa, and I really appreciate that. And getting to know you over the years, you are so enthusiastic and excited for the really revitalization of some of these historic assets that we have. Yes. So thank you for that. And I'm curious. I know you, in that ambassadorial role, you've brought a lot of amazing people here, or you've encouraged, things at the Circle, and I know you've got some grand vision. I wondered if you could share a little bit what's at least planned or in the works for the groundbreaking, the launch, not the groundbreaking, the launch and finish out. Do you know if any of your fellow celebrities will be coming back to town, or have you?
We hope so. Yeah, we hope so. We've done 2 events already where we brought back C. Thomas Howell, Ralph Macchio, Darren Dalton, the Social and thing, and a bunch of other people that Hollywood types that I used to run with, and we've come for a few events. Tulsa sells itself. It really does. Every time I bring people here, at first they're like, "Did he relapse?" I'm like, "No," and they're like, "Does he have a side girl?" No, like. They can't, they're like, why did you leave Beverly Hills and go to Tulsa? They don't, because the frame of reference, is just not there. And then when I bring them out here, they do it just because they're my friend. They're like, all right, I'll come to the event. You flying me out and putting me up. I got it. So then they come out here, and I get overwhelmed and running and gunning and probably don't see them that often. And then I call to apologize the first event. Sorry, I didn't get to spend any time with you. Take it. They said, bro, we had an amazing time. We got a cigar at this place. We ate over at the Freeway Cafe. We met some people who took us over to show us locations. It's incredible. Like, I don't know if that's just Tulsa or that's the Midwest, or I'm from Flyover. I'm born in Brooklyn, raised in Hollywood, and so people are different. And so much so that all the people that I've invited out here, they've been back now 3 times in the calendar year. And usually by the second time, they're like, how much your house is here? And I'm like, yeah. Now you're using your noodle, all right? Because you can have a really good all-American life here in Tulsa, Oklahoma for a fraction of what it costs you to do anything anywhere else. So, yeah, I'm honored, Dan. It's been... I need Tulsa more than Tulsa needs me. I'm happy to just be a part of it. And if I love something and I'm passionate about something, I can't shut up about it. Usually I'm quiet. I love you guys. I love Tulsa. I love so many different pieces of it. And between the Circle Cinema and what Teresa's doing with the church and the OK Pop Museum and 20 other projects that are happening downtown, I feel like my timing, if anything, is impeccable. Like, it's the right time to be here, because in 2009, downtown looked different. In 2018, it's incredible the amount of galleries and parks and just so many good things, and restaurants, great restaurants. And so, yes.
I'm John, I'm a drummer, and I just thought I'd ask you if you'd do a little rap for us.
If you drum, yeah, I will. No, come on. Pack it up, pack it in. He's ready. You got a drum set? I was just joking. You're going to be my backup dancer.
All right, I'll beat on this.
All right. No, I don't even have nothing for you. I'll just pack it up, pack it in. Let me begin. I came to win, battle me, that's a sin. I won't never slack up. That's my backup dancer right there. No, that's George. You should ask him to rap. Is it good?
Thank you.
Thank you once again, Danny, for an excellent presentation. Know that you're welcome here anytime, and we'd love to have you as a Rotarian. Think about it. So a book recognizing today's program will be presented to our partner in education school, Celia Clinton, and this week's book is Pete the Cat Rocking in My School Shoes. That's a mouthful. Upcoming program, September the 5th, E.J. Oppenheimer, Permaculture. September 12th, Jesse Guardiola, Police and Immigration. So thank you for being here, and let's not lose sight of that grand Rotary International vision. Together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. We are adjourned.